What's the crack, everyone? It's Nathan here, aka the Rambling Kern, and head instructor of Kern School of Combat. So this is a third video in a series of me testing shillelaghs versus coconuts. Now, obvious question is, why am I testing that? What's the importance of this? Coconuts have been used in various different pursuits as an analogue for human skulls. The density is roughly the same. And as a result, they make quite a good, cheap analogue for testing blunt instruments and seeing what they would do potentially against a skull. Now, I do have a more scientific video where I use ballistic shell and a skull analogue. You'll find that on my channel. However, this video and today's video was a specific thing that I wanted to test, mainly due to something that I see happen quite a bit, especially with people who aren't quite familiar with certain techniques that are used in the styles that I practice, and then to just test the stick itself. So I had a bit of issues with this particular camera today. However, I do have lots of slow-mo footage, so I will show all of that. However, you just won't get some of the more dynamic action shots that I had done. I don't know why the camera did what it did, but this is the joys of YouTube. So essentially what happened, the first test I did with the back of the stick here. You can actually see a tiny little divot. I'll see if that's visible on camera. The smallest little divot right here. And I tested the back of the stick with a downward strike. Just to see what sort of damage it would do. It's something I see happen from time to time. I actually plan a video as to my thoughts on that and why with the styles that I teach. It's not really something that's done, hitting with the back of the stick rather than the head of the Merlin or the knob end of the stick, basically the knob point. Main reason why I wouldn't advise it is this is kind of like axe head or a mace head. This concentrates the force. I know there are certain issues people have with hooking and catching on things. I'm going to, like I said, deal with that in its own future video. The second I wanted to test was hitting it with the end of the stick, and that actually resulted in a bit of a small tragedy, but this is the price to pay for testing things. And as you can see, we had the slightest crack throughout the stick, so you can see it there. So this portion of the stick which was used on it, you can see here. Now this took 2 or 3 hits before it did eventually get that minor crack in it. It is still solid as a rock, however unfortunately we'll not be able to rely on this for hiking anymore. But this is something I want to test, because obviously if you're using this as a walking stick, you're holding this hand or this end of the stick, it's unlikely that you're going to be walking around with this in a threatening manner, in a ready stance. So it's always an interesting one to test what it would be like to actually hit with the thin shank end of the stick. And it's essentially, you'll see what happened, but with this one, it took kind of a second hit to really do the damage. It's always hard to tell with coconuts. Sometimes the first hit may have caused a crack under the surface that you're not aware of, and then the second one finishes off. It's always kind of hard to tell. Anyway, like I said, a few different videos planned in this series. If you want to sponsor my work and help me buy more sticks, because these things are not cheap, and this one has a lot of sentimental value to it, but it's going to be put away now because this was a gift to me, and it's served me very, very well. But if you'd like to sponsor me for getting new sticks and seeing more videos, you'll find my Patreon in the description. You can give little or as much as you'd like. Every little does help, and if you can't, like and subscribe. Really does help the channel. Anyway, enough of me talking into the tests. And if you have any questions or any thoughts on this or any future tests you'd like to see, pop the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. So for this round of testing, I wanted to make a new holder for the coconuts. This one allowed them to move freely and not be overly supported. I basically had it on a base mace bell that I made out of concrete, so that I was able to move freely as I hit it. Here we have the first test. This one I wanted to test hitting with the shank, or basically the lower half of the shillelagh, as if you were walking with it, and we're hitting with the lower half, because you will most likely have the knob in your hand, so this will be the portion that you've been most likely hit with. Here we can see in slow motion one of the main reasons why blackthorn is so useful for use as a striking implement. You'll see when I hit, the amount of flex in the stick is pretty noticeable, which is a very important thing if you're hitting with a stick and obviously don't want it to break. Right about here is where the footage started to get a bit wonky. Now this first shot didn't really seem to cause any sort of crack or noticeable crack in the coconut, which I found kind of unusual. However, when I picked it up and had a look, I thought I could see some small little fractures, but there's nothing really noticeably visible within the coconut. This is also around the time where my other camera started to act up, so we'll mainly be looking at slow motion footage from here on out. So for the next strike, this one I did a slightly more oblique strike, more of a forehand, and this one, as you can see, basically shattered the entire coconut. You can actually see the entire fruit leave, and you can see right here, this is where the portion of the stick that actually broke, that made contact. I found this pretty interesting. It's actually something I've never seen with all these coconut tests, that the inside remained completely intact, but the entire shell basically shattered clean in half and sent the coconut flying. I kind of had a bit of a chuckle to myself here because, like I said, I've never seen anything like this. Next up then, I wanted to test the reverse, so basically hitting without using the Merlin or the ball portion of the stick. I've seen this happen a few times, and a few different people try this, so I thought I'd give it a shot myself and see what sort of difference it makes. Now, like I said, the footage kind of was a bit bad here, but this did actually cause a few hairline fractures in the coconut. You can see me bringing it over to the camera here to have a look. However, what I did then was get another coconut and test a standard, exact same strike, exact same force, however this time using the head of the stick with the Merlin or the knob pointing forward. And as you can see, bit of a noticeable difference. Now this is one of the main reasons why we hit with the stick this way, concentrates the force forward, and there is some kind of quite unusual mechanics in Irish stick fighting as a result of this, but that's the topic of another video.